You're the one everyone calls in a crisis, right? The person who can fix any problem and calm any storm for the people you love. It feels like love. It feels like you're being a good partner, a good friend. But what if I told you that this constant need to fix everything isn't love at all? What if it's actually a toxic red flag that's quietly destroying your relationships? The problem with being the fixer. Look, we all want to help the people we care about, but there's a huge difference between healthy support and compulsive fixing. A fixer doesn't just help. They feel a deep responsibility to become the solution. This isn't just being kind. It's a pattern, and it's often driven by your own anxiety, not their need. You see someone you love struggling, and your gut instinct is to jump in, take away their pain, and manage their life for them. The problem is, when you solve everything for them, you're sending a powerful, unspoken message. I don't think you can handle this on your own. Even with the best intentions, you're overstepping boundaries and making them feel controlled instead of cared for. Over time, that doesn't build a connection. It builds resentment and a really unhealthy dependency. Where does this fixing come from? So, why do we do this? For a lot of fixers, it's a role they learned in childhood. Maybe you grew up in a chaotic home where you had to be the responsible one just to feel safe. Or maybe your parents were emotionally distant, and you learned that your value came from being useful, from doing things for people. This pattern is a classic sign of what psychologists call codependency. It's a dynamic where your self-worth gets all tangled up in being needed by someone else. Your identity is so focused on solving their problems that you completely forget about your own needs. Underneath it all is usually a deep fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of conflict, or fear of being abandoned. You start to believe on some level that if you stop fixing, you'll lose your value and they'll leave. And the damage it causes. This kind of relationship is destined to fail because it's totally imbalanced. For the person always being fixed, it stunts their growth. It robs them of the chance to develop their own confidence and problem-solving skills. You're not teaching them how to swim. You're just promising to keep them from drowning, which means they'll always need you to stay afloat. And what about you, the fixer? It leads to total exhaustion and burnout. You pour all your energy into managing someone else's life, while your own goals and well-being get pushed aside. You end up feeling unappreciated and taken for granted, because the truth is, no amount of fixing is ever enough. A quiet resentment starts to build, poisoning the very relationship you were trying so hard to save. It stops being a partnership and becomes a draining, one-sided project. How to support, not fix. The answer isn't to just stop caring. It's to change how you care. The goal is to shift from fixing to supporting. Healthy support isn't about handing someone the solutions. It's about giving them your presence. It's about learning to sit with them in their discomfort without feeling like you have to immediately erase it. So, what does that actually look like? First, just listen. Really listen. Most of the time, people don't want your 5-step plan. They want to feel heard. They want you to validate their feelings without judgment. Instead of saying, "Okay, here's what you need to do," try asking, "That sounds incredibly hard. How are you feeling about all of this?" Second, you have to set boundaries. You are not responsible for another person's happiness or success. It is completely okay to say, "I love you, and I have total faith in you to figure this out. I'm here for you, but I can't solve this for you." That isn't selfish. It shows you respect them enough to believe in their own strength. And finally, turn that powerful fixing energy back on yourself. Your worth isn't measured by how much you do for others. It's time to reconnect with your own needs, your own dreams, and your own life. When you build a strong sense of self outside of being a caretaker, you can finally show up in your relationships as a whole person, not just out of a need to be needed. That habit of rushing in to save the day might feel like an act of love, but it's a form of control that ultimately makes your relationships weaker. Real love isn't about making someone dependent on you. It's about empowering them to be their strongest self. right there alongside you. It's about being a supportive partner, not a relentless project manager. Because the best relationships are built on interdependence, where two whole people choose to grow together. What are your experiences with this? Have you been the fixer or been in a relationship with one? Share your story in the comments below. It can be incredibly powerful for others to know they aren't going through it alone.